What's up, guys? It's Damp, and Who's here? And we have a compilation of all the videos that we just did, giving you the best trinkets in Darkest Dungeon per dollar. So this is like a boxing pound for pound list, or value or dollar per dollar of the best trinkets in the game. So what we wanted to do is go through here and kind of discuss. So I'm going to go through and list the top five, and then Who and I are kind of going to give you some points on why we feel what it is. So keep in mind, if something is more rare, it would make it almost as if it's penalized. So these are pound for pound. So if there's a really good trinket that's a common, it's going to be valued higher than a really good trinket that's an uncommon. So that will kind of explain how we go through the listing here. So at number 5, we have the Solar Bracer. Generally speaking, one of the best trinkets in the game based off of value alone. It's an uncommon trinket. It's fairly affordable early in the game, and you can use it all the way through most of the dungeons. Number 4, Survival Guide. We've already talked to you about that, how valuable we feel, and it's a common. Number 3 is the Common Crystal. Negative 15% stress damage, which is great, and then they also have the dodge in it. Then we have the Surgical Gloves, which is plus 5% crit, plus 5 accuracy in the melee skills. And then our number 1 that we rate is the Feather Crystal. So I guess we'll kind of work from the Feather Crystal and work backwards. So why do you value the Feather Crystal so much?
It does everything you want it to do. I mean, this reduction on the stun resist and the move resist is barely an issue. Those negative stats pretty much might as well not be there. If you think like that, this item is pure positive, and it is exceptionally good stats for any speed-based character and any healer.
I agree. Utility characters this shines on: jesters, houndmasters. Really, you can use it on anybody. Speed is probably the most valuable stat in the game, and dodge is probably the second most valuable. Until you get to the Darkest Dungeon, I think it's probably the second most valuable stat in the game.
Oh yeah.
Moving on to the Surgical Gloves. What do you think about those?
The surgical strike. Once again, the negative on this item might as well not be there. They're so minor, but these are only for melee characters, which is why it was rated below the Feather Crystal for me. The 5% crit melee and the 5% accuracy melee is fantastic, but it's only melee. It's the same argument we had with the pen in the trophy video.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Similar to the pen and the musket ball, melee is better than ranged because of how many people that can utilize it. And if this was a common trinket, it'd definitely be number 1. But because it's uncommon, it falls slightly behind.
And the restriction is a restriction.
Yeah. Yep. Whereas the Feather Crystal, even though it is rare and it's technically going to be more expensive, you look at the fact that it can be used across anyone, and that's why we have it in second place. So then moving on to the Common Crystal, and kind of why I think it's in third, is basically just because at a certain point in the game, you should be able to manage your stress a little bit better. And it's always great to have negative stress damage. This is fantastic early on, but later in the game you have a better concept of how to reduce the stress damage, and it's slightly devalued, even though it's better than the Surgical Gloves and that almost everybody can benefit from it. You look at the fact that later on in the game you probably wouldn't be using something like this because you know how to manage your stress. What about you, Who?
I agree. Later on in the game, it loses a little bit of its value. Not a massive amount, even when you compare it to some of the Ancestral trinkets and some of the trophy trinkets. It's still really good, but it does lose a little bit of its value. Early game, though, cannot go wrong with this trinket. This trinket will see characters from level 1 all the way through to level 6, and then you'll start using the better trinkets.
So from there we look at the Survival Guide. The reason this is better than the Solar Bracer, like I kind of touched on before, it's common, it's more affordable, and when you look at it and what it provides to your party, I mean, who's already kind of did his man crush about this guide before, but looking at the scouting chance and the trap disarm is early on in the game. This is really valuable. Again, later on when your party's leveled up, not as much of a factor, but early on in the game, this can be so beneficial when gold and stress are really the two things that are holding you down from being able to move forward in the game. Gold especially, and by being able to scout, you can find ways to avoid fights to reduce the amount of incoming damage you have, and then trap disarm obviously would reduce your stress. Who? You got anything else in the survival guide?
There's nothing else you can say. I mean, it's not a combat trinket, which is why it's rated so low on the list.
Mm-hmm.
But it's rated as a top 5 simply because, as Dam said, in the early game, it will save you shed loads of money and loads of not character stress, personal stress in dealing with everything that happens. So you won't end up where you've got parties where you have one guy massively stressed out for no reason. This will help alleviate a lot of those problems. For me, it's the #1 beginner's trinket.
Yep, it's very valuable. Then moving on to the solar bracer, the last one. So we've already talked about this in the other video. It is situational to doing torch runs, so it does fall a little bit behind. If this was a common trinket, it would be better than the survival guide, but it would be close. But because of where it sits with how much it costs, this is an item that you can carry later with you in the game. So it's almost as if this could go up to 3rd, and but I mean, it was so marginal. The solar bracer was really close to the rest of these as far as general use that all people can use and aren't restricted to classes. So and obviously we excluded the very rare and the ancestral from this. Again, we're looking at value, so that kind of eliminates them altogether from the list. So what do you got on the solar bracer?
Nothing additional. I mean, it's a solid item. The restriction's a bit of a pain in the neck, but if the numbers were ever so slightly higher, it would be higher on the list. If it was common, it would be higher on the list. It's just an item that you're going to be happy to have no matter what situation you're running.
So that kind of wraps it up, guys. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you saw the whole series so you can kind of understand what our theories were going into this and how we approached. And let us know in the comments below what you feel are the top 5. And exclude the very rare and the ancestral and the classes, and tell us what your list is. Hopefully this was helpful to you. Again, check out Who's channel. He's going to be doing a lot more theory crafting for DD. So check him out, sub to him. And he'll be putting up some content this week, I think, that you guys will enjoy. Also, we'll be working on updating the strategy guide for you, too. A lot of you have asked about it. Now that we're kind of back together, you'll see a lot more updates coming from that.
And if you have any requests for videos, tell us. We love making content. The problem for us, we both work, and it's coming up with suitable content that viewers want to see. So if you have ideas and stuff you'd want to see, we'd love to read them.
Thanks very much, guys. Appreciate all the time. Thank you for the views and the support. See ya.